numbers. You might have heard of 350.org. And they were founded to look at the scientific numbers of what's actually happening in the carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is not a very big part of what's in our atmosphere, but the tiny amount that's there is absolutely critical that it be at a certain level. Otherwise, we continue to heat up in a kind of a blanket effect around the atmosphere. And it's gradual, but it's very, very serious. So we are already way above 350. We used to be 280 before the Industrial Revolution, and we're up at 400 now. And anyway, that's nothing compared to where we're actually going. So if we could move on. Thank you. I just wanted to show you, these are transportation corridors. They are air flight lines, they are freighter lines, and they are highways. And I just want to give you a sense of 7 billion people living on the planet are doing a lot of moving around and a lot of freighting and trucking things around. And we don't charge for the carbon that's used in that and that's produced. Like it's a subsidized pollution of the planet that's going on with all that moving around, and there's a lot of us doing it, and it's adding up to something the planet cannot bear. Okay, let's go again. So here are the sources of energy that we are using, and you can see that oil and natural gas and coal are absolutely huge. 75%, more than that, of the world's energy, I think it's 75% in Canada, this is even higher, I believe, for the world, are fossil fuels. So if we're going to get off fossil fuels by the middle of the century, which is what the scientists say we have to do, we have a big job to do. And the other thing we have to realize is those fossil fuel companies, they're the biggest, most powerful, most influential companies on the planet. Next to, of course, defense contractors, military contractors. They're in the same, they have powerful paid lobbyists. They spend millions on their lobbyists, and every day they're out discovering more places to get oil and gas, extreme sources like in the Arctic and so forth, because they only see it as making money. They're making a ton of money, and they're making it faster than they can make it in the renewable energy field, even though that is growing. So this is what we're up against. I just wanted to let you know. So let's go to the next one, please. So 342nd consecutive month of above average global temperatures. Our temperatures are going up, and the City of Toronto had a study done that showed that we need at least $1 billion of infrastructure work done to cope with the increased temperatures. We're not going to have cooler nighttime temperatures. Angela talked about those 12 days of peak days in the summer. We're going to go from 32 days of air conditioning in Toronto, that kind of weather. We don't all have air conditioning, but the temperature usually comes on around 25 Celsius. There'll be 180 days in 30 years from now if we allow business as usual to take its course. And it doesn't stop there. Like they do the study for 30 years from now, but it isn't going to stop. It goes up and up. So let's get the next one. There we are. Goes up and up, out of sight. And we're talking 4 degrees, 6 degrees, even higher. And nobody can say exactly when we would hit that temperature, but potentially in this century or the next century. And you cannot have civilization the way we have it today above a 2-degree rise. That we just cannot have it. So we have to be able to tell our government that we cannot have that. This is not the future that we are going to have. And that is a big turnaround, because the fossil fuel companies right now have have the Conservatives, Stephen Harper, is right behind them. Liberals, I'm not sure about it. Justin Trudeau will maybe support carbon pricing, but he thinks Keystone XL and is just great, and we should be promoting it in the US. So we have a lot of work to do to get there. Next slide, please. Toronto before the flood. You remember that flood? Was anybody here out in that storm that we had? It was like having the bathtub emptied over your head. Like I was just, the streets were flooding up to the curb. And it went on with that. And the volume, I'm not sure the volume, but it was a record volume of water in a short amount of time. And that does a lot of damage. And who pays for that? Like at friend's house where I go all the time, there was an area that was flooded with carpet with the water from that. $1,200 to repair that. Now who pays that? Those companies, I'm gonna yell this way so that you hear those countries don't pay that, do they?
No.
We are all subsidizing them, and we should be downright very angry about it. Okay, next thing we should be angry about is impact on human health. Now, we know that the indigenous people in the tar sands area, in the Athabasca River, they are the front line from the pollution and the cancers, the epidemic. They cannot enjoy the natural environment that they should be able to enjoy. They cannot swim in the river without their skin being affected and getting disease. They cannot drink, they cannot eat the fish, nothing. And here's just one example. This was from Mayflower. This baby is now on this breathing apparatus, and it's long-term. It's not like a day or two. This is a long-term lung damage to that little baby from the kind of spill that Carrie was talking about. So next, please. We need to act on climate fast, right? Because the candle's going. The Arctic is melting, and that is not the future. We were talking about reclaiming the future. A livable future is our #1 responsibility to pass on to our children. Okay, next please. Okay, so this came out of the recent September IPCC report, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, Physical Effects of the Climate Change. It came out of these options about what we have to do to get down to that almost zero carbon dioxide use by the middle of the century. That's not very long away from now when you think about human changing our patterns of living. And evidently, the sooner we start, the more gradual that incline can be. The longer we wait, like if we wait till 2020, which is what our government is talking about, like, we don't need to do much till 2020, or we're already doing something, we're already achieving our goals. It's all hogwash, it's not true. We are increasing the carbon dioxide that we put out. We have not slowed it, we have not plateaued, and we have not stopped going down. So the longer we let that happen, the more impossible it actually becomes, the more costly it becomes to try to get down to what we need to keep under a 2-degree rise. Next, please. So we have to keep 2/3 of the currently identified fossil fuel reserves. Some people say 80% even. It depends, I guess, where you're looking. 50% of known oil and 80% of coal needs to stay in the ground, because they've measured the gigatons of carbon dioxide that are in the reserves, and they know how much it will take to put our temperature rise over 2 degrees. Scientists are telling us this. We cannot. This is when people are talking about the carbon bubble, they mean if you're invested in fossil fuels, you're investing in unburnable resources. Those are not going to be worth anything because we cannot burn them, because we're going to destroy the planet. So it's going to collapse, and the divestment movement is working on that assumption and helping people to change, and institutions to change their investments. We have pension plan funds, we have to change the investments, we have to get out of fossil fuels and into renewables, because that's the way we're going to make the transition. Next, please. So this gives you a sense of where our reserves are. Saudi Arabia, they have more reserves than us, but look at the tar sands, oil sands, it says. Almost all the way up on that thing. That's what we have. And that's what they want to extract faster and faster and faster and get it out on Keystone and Northern Gateway and again Energy East and Line 9. We cannot let it get out of the tar sands, because that's an important thing to trying to get this turnaround. And basically we have to slow it down till we can get a new government, and the new government that comes in has to have a different approach to the economy. I love the granny song about the economy at lunchtime. We know a thing or two about the economy. Is that the line? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, next please. So this is Stephen Harper's idea. Canada's Environmental Action Plan is the tar sands, There he is saying, love the new science. We do not love the new science. This is not our idea of economy. We have to get serious and we have to fight about this. It's no good. Next one, please. Okay, so the top line is Canada's emissions, reported emissions. And you see it went down a little bit, but then it's going up, and 2020 it'll be up, and well, Kyoto is the black line. Where they had to get out of Kyoto, right? Because that maybe made us do something. Kyoto is the black line that would have actually shown a reduction. We had a Copenhagen target, which is the purple line, and we've abandoned that. We're not matching that. We're not meeting that. The European Union target is the brown one. Hold on, is that right? No. Yeah. Anyways, we are not getting there. That's the point of putting those up. And so anything they put out, their PR, their masters of spin, they'll tell you, oh, we're meeting your targets, blah, blah, blah. No, you're not. Okay, thank you. Next. Everybody else in the world is doing this. Renewables, they're building their economy that way. We are so behind. Look at Denmark. It's 200 megawatt solar capacity goal, 8 years ahead of schedule. Norway, Germany, Japan, many other countries are roaring ahead. Meanwhile, here's what we're stuck with. Next, please. This is from the blockade in New Brunswick, in Elspethog, with the women. Look at women on the front line, the indigenous women saying, we will not ruin our water. We will not ruin our water. Say they're not looking at the climate, big picture, they're looking at the local effects, but it's both. It's local and it's climate. It's everything. But we cannot live without water. And they're out there joyfully saying that and really mobilizing. And we need to organize on the front line. Next, please. Because the water is life. Water is sacred. And you know, with that fracking stuff, you can't believe it. Like, you know, we're putting all these chemicals in the water, millions of gallons of poison water, putting it down in the ground and blasting through, and it's just like, what? It's illegal to poison. If I went and poisoned your water, you poisoned my water, you'd be in jail. You'd be in jail. Why are these guys not in jail? It's time for us to say that, and be out in the streets. In the first decade of VOW, people were out in the streets. There was a lot of direct action, a lot of signs in the streets, and we need more of that. We really need that. We also need an inside strategy and an outside strategy with this, and I've become quite involved with other groups that are inside strategy. So let's look at the next one. This is sort of a combination. Climate Fast. I have my little t-shirt on here for the Climate Fast. Thank you. We did 12 days on Parliament Hill in 2012 and again this past fall to try to get signatures from MPs on 3 demands. Tell us that you're going to work in Parliament in order to get an end to fossil fuel subsidies, a price on carbon, and a renewable energy plan for Canada. We need this platform in place for the 2015 election. We need the commitment, so even if some kind of minority government thing comes in, it happens. Because as we said, we can't wait till 2020. 2015, that's absolutely the latest. In Canada, you've heard about our reputation around the world a few times today, right? Are we going to stand for that? Are we going to stand for that, folks? No. No, wait. Okay, so that's that. Next one, please. And then, so we've gotten 116 MP signatures, and a lot of you probably sent letters to your MPs because we send it out through VOW and other endorsing organizations. Please write your MP. Because, as Angela said, they always say, we never hear from anybody. We don't even know they're concerned. So we encourage people to do that. People have been doing that. We have 116 signatures, but there were 308 MPs. We don't have the party leaders except for Elizabeth May yet, so we still have a lot of work to do, and we don't necessarily have it in the party platforms. Next, please. Peggy Nash was up on the Hill while we were there, and she Facebooked that out. So going up to Parliament Hill and being there and talking to them can make a difference. Next one, please. Next week, I'll be in Ottawa with Citizens Climate Lobby. It's happening in the US and in Canada, but next week is our first national conference on carbon pricing in Ottawa. So it's not whether we're going to price carbon, it's like how we're going to do it. Let's talk about how. Voice of Women has joined the Climate Action Network, and we are active in this. Okay, next one, please. So that is a picture from Parliament Hill with our Climate Fast group, and we were not a big group. We were like usually 10 people on the Hill in a day, and maybe another few people that were running around doing emails. And Margaret was up this fall, past fall, for the whole event, and it is amazing. To me, it was one of my most effective activist actions ever to do that, and to get the support we got for our website, climatefast.ca. And so we're going to build now. Anybody who'd be interested in helping us build that, because we want it happening all across the country. We want way bigger, if we're going to do it next fall, a year before the election, to get this into really into the public consciousness. We have to make it bigger. There's little cards, these ones sitting around that have the the website address, and there's other resources. I have a petition, which is one of the things we take when we go and see the MPs, is petitions people have signed, and a sign up for climate issues, particularly if you want, for citizens climate lobbies. So those are there, and I'm out of time, right? Out of time, but there you go. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Rebecca, for listening, because wow, this is just so important. This is our work.